The biggest hack to stay in Vietnam long term has finally been solved. The DT4 investor visa. You guys have heard that hook before, haven't you? The DT4 visa, or rather the Golden Visa Vietnam, is a great short-term solution a lot of YouTubers and online lawyers have been bragging about and talking about for the last 5 months. As a great way to avoid doing these crazy visa runs that we have to do every 3 months while living out here. Because unfortunately, Vietnam doesn't have any other way to do it. Now, of course, people are using this visa to start their own little businesses, be it online or physically here in Vietnam. However, according to 2023 and 2024 statistics out here in Vietnam, a lot of people are starting to use this process, this investor visa, to avoid the chaos of these visa runs instead. So the real question comes down, is this better than doing actual visa runs every 3 months? And also, why are so many YouTubers, so many online lawyers promoting this so much? Is it really that good, or is it just that hype? With 12 years of living in Southeast Asia and 6 of them running this YouTube channel, I've had to do a lot of research on content to make facts that I need to show you guys and to make sure what we're talking about is accurate. And in this research, I've always noticed one thing. Fantasy and misinformation always sells in Southeast Asia. And that can be the women, the parties, the cheap beer, the cost of living, and also that golden word, retirement visa. But unfortunately, since the pandemic, staying long-term in Vietnam is becoming a harder and harder thing to do. And this also includes that world-famous one-year business visa you used to be able to buy from an agent so you could stay here without working, get married, or even retiring. You could just stay here. All this is now gone. And on top of all of this last 4 years has gotten extremely hard for the local people. It's gotten expensive. But for a lot of us, we live on these But for a lot of us, we live in these beach cities. We don't see a lot of this stuff. Something that we do see is it's getting harder to stay in Vietnam long term. And being forced to do these visa runs every 3 months, hoping we don't get rejected, because some people are and some people aren't. It's just been a gamble this last 4 years. And this is putting Vietnam in a very weird situation where it's not attracting more tourists, and the stats are reflecting what's been going on these last few years. So this is putting lawyers, this is putting YouTubers in this position where they need to shill, they need to up their game. And what's the best way to do that? It's not economics, it's not tourist sites, it's not theme parks or amazing places to see. It's offering golden visas with longevity, the thing that foreigners and expats have always wanted to have for Vietnam. So today's video is not going to talk you out of getting this. It's not even going to talk you into getting this. We're going to talk about the goods and the bads of this visa and if it's a good solution for you to go after. This is not a one-size-fits-all visa. So let's get straight to the positives and let's talk about what is the value of getting this investor visa. This allows you to stay in Vietnam long term, and while you're doing that, fund your life without being stuck being an English teacher. This is a huge plus. And also, the government's made it a lot easier to do this whole process online. As long as you got a lawyer, which we're going to talk about here later, you can get this whole visa done online very quickly. You no longer have to get on some random sleeper bus or get on a flight to Thailand every 3 months to get a new visa. You get a 1-year uninterrupted visa and stamp to stay in Vietnam for an entire 365 days. And on top of that, this allows you to lease property under your business name. So that whole idea of buying land in Vietnam, which isn't really a thing you can do, but you can at least get some kind of longevity with this house. So if you're here for a year, you've got something to stay in. And if you are a YouTuber that watches this, you do some kind of consulting firm, you sell some kind of survival guide, check mine below. You can open a company and use those profits to get you this business visa. This is an amazing way to go about it. So don't think you have to come here, get a physical business, be an exporter, or be a street vendor selling rice. And of course, there's going to be tax benefits that are going to be associated with this. These are things you're going to have to talk to your lawyer about when you start setting this company up. There is a process you should be following, and we're going to get more into that here in a bit. You're no longer just paying to the system. You're starting to get something back. However, if you're doing this strictly for the 1-year visa, there are going to be some things you're going to want to consider. And the biggest downfall of this is you cannot sponsor anybody else. So this means if you open this company in Vietnam, you cannot sponsor your wife or your children to stay in Vietnam under your company. Also, if you decide to work for your company or you decide to be a teacher on the side, you're going to have to apply for a TRC for your own business or the company that you plan on working for. This investor visa is literally that, just a visa. This is not a TRC. LLC. This is not a residency. But again, this is going to be more for people that are doing this for the business aspect. And we're going to get into the price and the cost here in a bit in this video. So stick around for that. Now, when it comes to the legalities, you should have a lawyer on retainer, a lawyer to help you set this up, and also a lawyer that has some type of an accountant associated with them so they can get all the taxing done for you. You're going to need these people. So make sure you do your research on the different types of lawyers. There's many law firms out here that can help you, that know how to do this effectively. They've been doing it for a long time. You want to avoid basic agents you find on Facebook. If something bad happens, they're not going to know how to help you. And if you get audited for this stuff and you didn't have the correct person, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. And we're going to talk about the auditing process and what happens if the government decides to audit your company. Every year, you're going to have to renew your business, almost like you're reapplying. If you're using the same legal team, the same accountants, this is a very fast and a very cheap process. So I strongly recommend finding a good lawyer, asking the right questions, and keeping them around on a retainer. So don't let one of these random YouTubers tell you, oh, get the golden investor visa for 10 years for under $120,000 and have them sell you a program that doesn't show you what to do.
Who wants smoke with me? Who wants smoke with me?
This is a legal process. You're developing a company, opening an LLC in this country. Make sure you get legal help. So with that, consider that me saving you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars from any kind of mishaps that will probably happen if you're going through these random YouTubers or some kind of a Facebook agent to set this up. So with that, do me a favor. Hit the like button, leave a comment below, say thank you, say hi, David, say something that helps the video out. But with that, let's talk a little more about the lawyers. What is the cost to actually hire a lawyer to get this entire process done? This isn't like America where you go to a website and start a company and pay $10. There's going to be a process, and you're going to deal with the bureaucracy through the government. Paperwork, stamps, and approvals. So these values that I'm going to share with you today are the most common businesses that are started up in Vietnam in the DT4 sector, giving you the averages of what they usually cost. This is going to really depend on the type of business you open and how much you're willing to spend on a lawyer. You get what you pay for out here. If you find a lawyer for $200, you're probably going to have some trouble down the road. Going outside of the lawyer and giving you just experience from myself and information that we've researched online with other businesses, let me give you a little breakdown of what it's going to cost to start a business in Vietnam for the first 3 years. Now, the first two big considerations is the amount of money you're going to invest into this company and the type of business you're opening. Opening an English center and opening up a bread shop are two different things with two different costs and a whole lot of different paperwork. So when you do see these videos talking about the investor visa and people say, I started a business for only $5,000, you need to be asking questions. What was the business type? How much was the lawyer's fees? And how much did you evaluate your business value to the government? These answers will allow you to understand what process they took. In general, you're looking between $500 to about $5,000 will get the basics done with your legal team. And you want to make sure that your law firm that you're using, because we don't use agents, that's very stupid, the law firm has an accountant on deck. So when they do start doing the tax papers or they start doing your tax returns, you could use the same people. So the cost is all included. And when it comes to these costs, you're going to want to have a retainer on these legal teams. So if you do get randomly audited, if you do need to renew your business at the end of the year, you have a team that knows your business, understands the paperwork, it's going to take accountability. If you just hire a random accountant when you get audited one day, they're not really going to care about what you're doing. They just want to get the job done. And they're not going to understand the initiation of this business, meaning they're not going to have all the information they need, which ends up costing more because now they got to contact this lawyer or you got to produce a bunch of documents that you probably don't have. And I want to be clear about this auditing. This is a very rare thing to happen in the first year. If you are setting up a DT4 investor visa under 3 billion VND, which is about $125,000, you are almost never going to get audited in the first year. It is very rare. But this does bring the idea of having a retainer. So if this does happen for some reason, something your lawyer did that flagged the government to say, hey, we need to check out this company, you already have accountants on deck to help you out. Now, when it comes to the overall cost for your first year of setting up one of these businesses, there isn't really a number in stone. There's actually hundreds of different numbers. My numbers for my 3 businesses are very different, but on average, you're looking between $5,000 to $9,000 for your first year of setup. When you get to your second, your third year, when they got to renew everything, you got to renew your visa, you're looking at between $1,500 to $3,000 and everything is done. This is including a lot of your tax filing, your resubmission of your business, and getting your visa updated. Let's actually step back a minute and talk about that auditing. What if you do actually get audited? Now, one thing about saying these companies, I've said this before, your first year, you're most likely not going to get audited. The government understands this is a new business, it's probably not going to make a lot of money, or they're just trying to figure things out. Perfectly fine. And the Vietnam government also wants foreign investors. So you are actually doing them a favor. You're not the enemy. But when you get to that second and third year, things can start happening. Now, reasons that you might get flagged is you're not making a lot of revenue or something just didn't add up in the paperwork. And the government wants to make sure that you are a real company and not just some paper company fronting to get a visa. Your lawyer is going to need to validate paperwork and show that everything is up to par, so it doesn't look like you're trying to do one of these golden investor visas that everyone keeps talking about on YouTube, but you're actually out here trying to do a business. So when you do get this audit, they're going to be verifying legal documents, capital proof, your tax compliance, your business activity. Just because you're opening this up because you want the visa doesn't mean you can't do transactions. You have to do transactions. You cannot file taxes with a big zero on it. They're going to flag you. They're also going to be looking at your registration. If you have a location, is everything up to compliance? And finally, are you following the visa regulations with your visa? And this is why you want to have a good lawyer and a good firm that's having your back and you got them on retainer. Because if you would have paid for a cheap agent on Facebook and she was bribing her way through to get your paperwork approved, and somebody else in the government audits you and they say, hey, none of this is adding up, you are going to have to pay for that, fix it, or you're going to have your visa revoked. So you want to have a good lawyer on retainer. And also, if they do get flagged, the accountability actually falls on your lawyer, because you're like, hey, I paid you money to do this, and they're saying this paperwork's bad. What's up? Now they're accountable. This is why you do not want to use random agents. Now let's talk about some things that actually trigger some of these means for getting audited. This could be no tax filing. If a lot of customers are complaining about your business, or if you're doing any suspicious type of visa renewal, as in every year you're just renewing a visa, but you're not actually functioning that well as a business. And again, this typically happens in the second and third year when you get audited for this stuff. Now, if you do get audited and they flag you, you're looking between $100 to $1,000 fine for not complying, and you're going to have to fix these problems and then resubmit your paperwork. And if it's still bad, you're going to get fined again. And if you're just doing this to avoid visa runs, you've already blown your budget out the water just off audits. So in conclusion, what is my thoughts about this? As somebody that's had 2 separate investor visas, and I've been on other types of visas such as the tourist visa, what is the best way to go? And in short, the DT Golden Investor Visa that a lot of these YouTubers, these online lawyers are pushing is more of a fantasy. They're selling you an idea that doesn't really exist. But if you are doing this for the business itself, this is an amazing process to go. This allows you to establish a business in Vietnam very cheap. $5,000 to $9,000. You have your own company in Vietnam. This is a great way to go. You pay taxes like an English teacher would, but the difference is you get a whole lot more money back. However, if you're doing this strictly for the visa itself, there are some things to be aware of. Visa runs themselves. They cost you about $800 to $1,000 a year to do all 4 of them. This is catching the sleeper bus or flying out of the country and coming back. The problem with this, though, is you do risk being declined to come back in the country. Vietnam is notoriously known for having people do visa runs and them saying, no, you can't return. So having an investor visa does avoid this problem. But when it comes to this DT4, it's going to cost you $5,000 to $10,000 to get it set up. And you got a lot of rules to follow to make sure that you don't slip up and the government's not knocking on your door asking for more things than you know what to do with. So why do so many YouTubers promote this as some kind of golden investment visa that is solving the retirement problem? A lot of it is just hype, misinformation, misunderstanding the law itself, and a whole lot of false hope. And some of that misinformation is the duration of this visa. A DT4 visa only allows you 1 year at a time, meaning every year you have to renew this. Sure, you can get past that 10 years, but you need to keep proving to the government year after year that you are in fact a company, not somebody just trying to leech a visa. But on the counter argument, it does give you a peace of mind of not having to get up in the morning every 3 months, get on some stupid bus and sit on there for 15, 16 hours doing these visa runs, hoping they let you back in. And another misleading thing about this, if you do apply for this investor visa and you want to start working for your company, you're going to have to apply for a TRC, and you're going to have to show credentials that you could work for your company. Meaning, if you open an English center and you want a TRC, you're going to have to prove that you have certification to teach English. So this can be a big problem that you might have to get a hurdle over and talk to your lawyer about. As in, if you open an export company, what documents does the government require for this TRC? And this TRC does not supersede your actual visa, meaning if you get a TRC, it doesn't allow you to stay for 3 or 4 years. Every year you still have to renew your business or that TRC becomes void. So if you are doing this just for the visa, I truly could not justify the cost, the process, and the headaches you'd have to go through just to avoid those visa runs. However, if you're doing this for a business, there are so many benefits, tax benefits, TRC benefits, longevity benefits, and peace of mind that this DT4 does offer you, so you can stay here long term and not worry about if you're ever going to get kicked out. As long as your business is functioning, you're pretty much here until the end of time. And if you're not sure about what business to start up, talk to the lawyer that's going to help you. And think of anything. If you're doing online, if you're doing exporting, if you're teaching English online, if you have some type of a YouTube channel where you offer a service, all of these things are considerable businesses that Vietnam will accept and allow you to set up the investor visa. So if you are out here just getting the visa, milking the system year after year, just trying to avoid this, the government is going to start auditing and start asking questions, which could lead to the refusal of your business, meaning your visa is gone and you're going to have to leave Vietnam. There's no bad blood. It's just time to move on.